I'm Miranda Rake.
And I'm Sarah Wheeler, and this is The Mother of It All, where we take on motherhood through the lens of culture and culture through the lens of motherhood. Hi, Mother of It All listeners. Welcome back to our series exploring the impact of the pandemic lockdown on parents and families. In part one, Miranda and I discussed the results of our survey of almost 500 parents about their experience of parenting through a global pandemic and the ways in which those intense years continue to impact them and their families now, 5 years later. All month long, we're sharing conversations with a few of the survey respondents who had particularly striking or emblematic stories to tell. Today, I'm speaking with Arianne, who gave birth just days after the lockdown began, and whose experience with that forced her to do some serious and meaningful reckoning with what motherhood and family meant to her. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Arianne, for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So paint a little picture for me of where you were 5 years ago.
Yes, we kind of were anticipating a pregnancy and entered the hospital pre-COVID and exited into a full-blown COVID world. So I was induced on Duke's first day of COVID-19 restrictions. So the day before being induced was a flurry of calls, changing all of the protocols as they were making decisions. So started off no visitors, but my husband and doula could be present, and then changed to my doula not being able to be present. And when entering into the hospital, my husband was allowed in, but there were multiple threats of warnings telling us do not let him leave the room or he might not be able to come back in.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, that shifting landscape of everybody trying to figure out what to do, and you're in the middle of that in labor.
Yes. And this was when masks were really hard to come by. So when I had an epidural, they were able to get a mask for me. So that is something that I clung onto for months.
Physically, we're talking literally, you never let go of that mask.
Yes, always close by, make sure it doesn't get lost because we didn't really have alternatives or, the free time to figure out how to sew masks when you have a newborn either. So.
Wow. Okay. So your daughter was born on March 18th, you said?
Yes,
2020?
March 18th, 2020.
And is there any one specific image that kind of comes to mind when you think about even that birth experience or those first few days of coming home?
It overwhelmingly was filled with fear and separation. So within the hospital room, while laboring, there was just such a disorientation and this sense of being completely alone with my partner. Folks were so scared, they didn't really want to come in. So, if you called a nurse, they would come, but there wasn't much support or presence there, and folks were wary to shake your hand when meeting you. And we were all just trying to figure out what was going on. And I had a really traumatic birth and had several critical mass hemorrhages after delivering Sophia. And so almost immediately had to pass her off to my husband, and he cared for her for several hours while they took care of me and stitched me up, and, got me where I needed to be stable. But this threat of COVID and this threat of birth trauma just left me feeling like anything could be taken away at any moment. And so, without even a rational reason, there was this ever-present fear of are they going to take my kid away? Are they going to take my spouse away? Am I going to be alone? And then, going home, trying to heal and adjust and People were too afraid to drop off meals. And there was just very little support as the whole world was trying to figure out what was happening and what was safe.
Yeah, I think in so many different ways, a lot of people talk about, you know, I hate to use this word, quote unquote, irrational fears, or, you know,
Hmm.
or kind of outsized fears being having some grounding in what was
Hmm.
actually going on. So,
Hmm.
you know, I can think about that interaction for you, how honestly you came by having
Hmm.
that fear that they'd take your daughter away from you.
Hmm. Yeah, and it was simple things of that you kind of take for granted before living through a pandemic with a newborn. Of, if you are trying to breastfeed and you have issues, you can see a lactation specialist. But we were afraid to leave our house. And
Mm,
when we did finally seek lactation support, they're trying to pump people out of their office as quickly as possible to avoid exposure. So there wasn't real quality time spent with that. Um, and so, we didn't get the support we needed there, um, and ended up just making the choice to pump exclusively.
hmm
But,
hmm
that created lingering feelings of resentment of, like I couldn't have a doula. I didn't get the support I needed breastfeeding. Couldn't both attend doctor's appointment for the first year of our daughter's life. It just left us feeling on a really scary island.
Mm. Do you remember any of the first kind of sightings on that island, or cracks in that loneliness, the first moments of connection that you were able to get, and when those happened?
Yeah, my friend gave birth several months after me, and we like introduced our babies to each other on Zoom and just like Simba style, hold up the
Hmm.
infant to the
Yeah.
camera. And it was so simple, and we just wept of just such a
Hmm.
beautiful moment of connection that pre-COVID would seem pretty sterile, but when you're used to not seeing people in your life, it's really powerful to get to connect in that way.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
it's
yeah.
quite an image. And now your daughter is almost 5. She's got a
Yes.
birthday coming up. Um, how do you see the like echoes of that birth experience and that postpartum experience in your parenting or your relationship with her?
Yeah, one of the really beautiful things to come out of COVID was that we spent so much time in this cozy little cocoon, the three of
Mm-hmm.
us. And so Sophia just loves being with us all the time. And we got to see so much of her life that otherwise we wouldn't have been able to see. And that was beautiful and brutal to spend
Mm.
so much time in close proximity. Um, there are definite still moments of that birth trauma that cause doubt with my attachment with her. And that's something I continually work on with trauma therapy, EMDR, and brain spotting of
Mm.
a fear of like, does she know who I am? Um, that I think
Yeah.
I am more confident in now, but it still is triggered in moments, just from that disconnection and the amount I was limited in helping her in the ways I had visioned because of the physical trauma I went through. Because
Yeah.
I was in bed for 9 months before I got surgery to kind of repair, all of the lasting damage from birth.
Wow. So that was going on the first 9 months of your child's life?
Yeah, yeah, and we did not have exposure to a lot of people that, you know, tangibly in person. And so I think people heard, oh, like you're having a hard time, postpartum is hard. and I had never had a child before. So I didn't know that what I was experiencing wasn't normal. And there weren't people to really see that, to say, like, oh, no, postpartum is hard, but not months and months and months dragging on
Mm-hmm.
in a way where you can't really be mobile.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you think if
Mhm.
you'd had more friends around, or, more intimate interaction with your doctors, that would have been picked up earlier?
I mean, I would certainly hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me
Mhm.
too. One of the other things that you talked about, that I found so interesting was how the pandemic helped you think about your relationships with people outside of your cozy cocoon. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there were people in my life, specifically my family of origin, that, my life and relationship with them was rocky, and there were boundaries that were pushed.
Mm,
But COVID brought up this very intense feeling of safety that was unique for so many of us. That was being challenged. So we had set some pretty clear boundaries about what we felt safe with a newborn in terms of contact. Um, and there was pretty aggressive disregard for those boundaries and a desire to disregard what we needed to feel safe and what we needed to protect our kid, our
yeah.
baby, in order for the like fun of a visit, or the perceived fun of a visit of getting to
Hmm.
hold a baby. Um, and previously to having a kid, I don't think I felt strong enough to stand up for myself and say, like, these boundaries need to be respected. But once we brought this tiny little baby, it was really easy to say, these are the boundaries and you need to follow them to keep her safe, and also to just keep like my inner child safe as well.
Mm,
We all deserve to be able to set boundaries and have them respected, and began to seek out people that, you know, want for us what will make us feel safe and seen and whole, and not people that just wanted to be in relationship to take from us.
hmm.
Um, which was a pretty brutal thing to
Yeah.
to undergo,
Yeah.
especially in an already isolating time. I told my therapist I had this image of coming up from being underwater and just like gasping for breath. Like I felt like I was drowning, having all of my boundaries disregarded and having people insisting, no, we need to see your kid. We need to celebrate Christmas with your baby, even though it's not safe. And just being able to say, like, we can't be in relationship with you if you don't follow our boundaries felt life changing. And
Mm.
like I could finally be in the driver's seat of my own life, and in the life of, me and my spouse and our kid.
It sounds like becoming a parent in such a vulnerable time kind of tipped the scales for you there.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. And, we've gotten to teach some really cool lessons to our kid. So, what family means, what boundaries mean. And this little 5-year old is just blows my mind with how emotionally intelligent she is and the things that she'll say, and that's been beautiful to see, and that gift we've been able to give her. So we were, talking about how Sophia doesn't have siblings because she's our one and only kiddo, and she just responded, oh, it's okay, mama, because we have heart family, and then
Mm.
listed the people that, she considers to be heart family, and that was just beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Hmm.
really is. Um, I can tell you're a good mom.
Thanks.
Is there anything when you think about, 2020, Arianne, is there anything you wish you could go back and tell her?
Yeah, I think I would tell her that she was doing the best that she could with what she had, and that she did not have much, that she was doing a good job. There was a very big lack of affirmation for myself as a parent and a lot of other parents that I talked to about, making hard decisions and never having anyone tell you you're doing a good job. And so I just thought I was, messing everything up. So just assurance, like you're doing okay. You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that come up for you talking about this that you want to share?
Yeah, I think one of the sentiments we received a lot, especially considering I almost died in childbirth, was, oh, well, you're okay now. And I have reflected so much on what that means of like, we were not okay. And there are parts of us that will always be a little not okay. And that can be healed. But just because someone doesn't die doesn't mean that they're okay. And I really wish that we could just sit with people's not okayness instead of just trying to put a band-aid on them and say, you're fine. Just sit in the corner and feel not okay, but you're okay because you're alive.
That's very wise. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
The Mother of It All is produced by Opus Knox Media with music from It's Electric. If you liked this episode, why not send it to a friend right now? Go on, we'll wait. You can follow us on Substack at themotherofitall.substack.com, where subscribing will get you episodes and bonus posts in your inbox and connect you with the Mother of It All listener community. Plus, become a paid subscriber and get a hot off the presses Mother of It All canvas tote. We're also on Instagram at The Mother of It All, and you can email us anytime with ideas or feedback at motherculturepod@gmail.com.